Thank you for listening to this PodcastOne Sportsnet production, available on Apple Podcasts and PodcastOne.
The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. He started in a small town in Texas. Worked his ass off to become one of the most famous wrestlers of all time.
We're going to take care of business tonight, and that's the bottom line.
And now he's dominating the world of on-demand audio. And he's doing it for the working man.
This is a damn good outlet for me to spew the bullshit off my brain.
Yeah! This is the Steve Austin Show. Unleashed.
All right, everybody, welcome to Steve Austin Show. I'm coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California today. I'm sitting here in my rental house at 317 Gimmick Street. The remodel continues right next door at 316 Gimmick Street. My home, my office, my compound. God damn, I went over there last night to check out the progress. And they're making progress. And they're fixing a lot of shit that was fucked up. And they're doing a real good job. Hell, I told my wife, Kristen, I said, son of a bitch, for all the shit that they're remodeling and fixing, we might as well have tore that motherfucker down and started from scratch. God damn, it might have been quicker to build a new house than to tear this motherfucker up and rebuild it. Nonetheless, the construction goes on, and I went over last night with my wife, and I said, hey, man, talking to the contractor, I said, hey, man, how long do you think this remodel is going to take? You know, we figured it's going to take about 2 months. Well, that's bullshit. We actually thought it was going to take about 60 to 75 days. It was going to be done by the time we got through deer season down at the Broken Skull Ranch. Well, it's going to be till about maybe April before we're able to move back in that sumbitch. So I tell you what, we're over here at this rent house, but I think we only got about a 2-month lease on this sumbitch before some other people rent it that was supposed to rent it, but they weren't ready for it, so now we live in here. But shit, I'm going to have to pull my RV out on the curb. I'll be podcasting from my silver RV on the streets of Los Angeles. Either that or I'll load that motherfucker up and head down to the Broken Skull Ranch and podcast from there. My return to Los Angeles, as I've told you, has been a little difficult, facing all the traffic and the headaches, hassles, and horseshits living in the big city of Los Angeles. Lots of pluses, lots of pros, but there's lots of cons too. The traffic is a motherfucker. We just got back from the veterinarian office. We had to take both of our dogs, my wonderful chocolate lab Hershey and our silver lab Moolah, to go get a checkup. And it turns out Moolah got something stuck in her ear. She kept scratching her damn ear with her foot. So she got something wrong with her ear. And so we flushed it out and she's fine. Hershey been coughing and hacking and panting a whole lot. God damn it. We love these damn dogs, especially Hershey. She's my baby. That dog goes everywhere with me in South Texas. She's my shadow. Take her deer hunting with me. She rides in my Kawasaki mule with me. Something's wrong with her. The doctor says, you know what? Have we ever x-rayed Hershey's chest? And we said, well, we don't believe we have. Wasn't in her records. Stuck her in an x-ray machine, and the doctor called us back there, and he said, hey, check this out. Hershey has pneumonia. And I said, God damn, are you kidding me? He says, no. And he starts describing all the x-ray stuff to me. So anyway, I don't know how long Hershey's had walking pneumonia, but it's been quite some time. That dog, she don't complain about nothing. Now, I know she can't talk. You're probably saying, Steve, you dumb motherfucker, your dog can't talk to you. How could she complain? But she don't whine. She don't mope. She don't just lay around. She sleeps a lot because she's 12 and a half years old. But that damn dog is tough as nails. So anyway, we're going to put on a course of antibiotics for about 2 weeks, and then we'll take her back. They took some blood work from her. We'll get her blood checked. Her thyroid was low normal last time, so we may check into that. But other than that, I think she's fit as a fiddle. Got some laser treatment on her front knees. She's got you know what? She's kind of gimped up just like me. Maybe I need to go back there and get a laser treatment on my damn knees, my shoulder, my whole fucking body. Shit, it might be a damn miracle. Kristen, you think they'd do a damn laser treatment on me? Yeah, shit, I might go get a PRP treatment. Fuck. I'll get my whole body PRP'd. I'll be feeling like $1 million in about 2 weeks' time. Fuck all that shit. I got a couple plugs I want to get out there real quick. I just was about to put in a home gym over at 316 Gimmick Street, and we started the remodel process. And the gym that I used to train at had closed down, and I've been wanting to make a move and do something on my own. And I was going to go buy some cheap-ass little power rack at a sporting goods store. And, man, it just wasn't sitting well with me. I said, man, I can't get that kind of shit. I just got to get something that's going to be a little bit more sturdy, a little more strong. And so I went down to, if you're in the Los Angeles area, they were at the Fitness Expo just a few weeks ago. Extreme Training Equipment is their website. This ain't a plug because they gave me a bunch of free shit. I paid for everything I bought over there. They're going to deliver it this Monday. I had a half rack built. Instead of a full power rack, I had a half rack built, 88 inches tall, so it would fit where my garage opens up over there at 316 Gimmick Street. They're going to bring it over here, but I was over there and I was checking out all the shit that they make. And if you want some badass, heavy shit, they do a lot of high schools and colleges and stuff out here in the Cali area, probably all over the nation. But they're local, and they're going to deliver my stuff on Monday. So I got some bumper plates. I got an Olympic bar. I got a preacher curl bench just because I love doing preacher curls. But anyway, hey, man, again, I paid for all my shit. But if you're in the L.A. area or in this region and you want some badass commercial-grade shit, check out Extreme Training Equipment. That's the only plug. Other than that, hey, I got one more plug I'm going to give for you right now, and that's Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge on CMT. We're on the last 2 episodes of Season 4. These are 2 episodes that you do not want to miss. Now, I know the show comes on Sunday, playoff Sunday, NFL, football is on, so set your DVRs. You don't want to miss this shit. January 22nd, January 29th, those are the last episodes. Men and women. We brought back the baddest all-stars from all 4 seasons, and they go head-to-head in the ultimate skullbuster, ultimate head-to-head competition you've ever seen in your life. If you want your doors blown off, I guarantee you, watch Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge this Sunday and next Sunday, the 22nd and the 29th. Set your DVRs on CMT 10/9 Central. You won't be disappointed. Man, these guys and girls come out there, and these are the best of the best. So I expected a shitload from them, and they delivered. Hey, when you put all-stars against all-stars, good shit happens. So, man, I'm out there. I ain't really got to motivate anybody to tell them to kick ass because, hey, man, this is part of their DNA. When they compete, they expect to win. They expect to be the best. And when you got a bunch of alpha men and alpha women out there and they're competing head-to-head, it makes for outstanding TV. So please check out these next 2 last episodes of Steve Austin's Broken Skull Challenge on ZMT. Hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the podcast. I got a good chance to have a conversation with my old buddy, Eric Embry, dropping stories about pro wrestling, more stuff, more psychology, Puerto Rico, all kinds of cool shit. It's always a pleasure talking with Eric Embry, and he just, man, the guy can talk your ears off. A great guy to interview, a great guy to listen to. I listen as a damn fan while I'm talking to him. He's got so many good stories. You're going to hear about them on today's podcast. Eric Embry is my guest once again. But before we get to Eric Embry and get this podcast really going here, let's get your health and fitness plan for 2017 going. And the easiest way to do that, get on the DDPY program. Dallas is making it really easy for you to get started because he's offering the biggest sale ever on DDPY right now. You get 25% off the DDP Yoga Now app, the DVDs, and all the swag, including hats, T-shirts, mats, and heart monitors. And if you buy a max pack, you get a second one for 50%. So that's 50% off the 25% you're already getting. I ain't got to tell you what a huge savings that is. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin to take advantage of this sale. And, of course, if you buy the DVDs, you'll also get 3 months free of the DDP Yoga Now app. And the app has a whole new set of DDP Yoga workouts. You can track your progress and your measurements, and you can do live workouts from the DDP Yoga Performance Center. So take control of your own health and fitness in the new year. Get on the DDPY program today and take advantage of this huge sale. 25% off the DDPY program and all DDPY-related merch at ddpyoga.com/Austin. That's ddpyoga.com/Austin.
Hey, this is Steve Bertoni, host of the Forbes Interview Podcast, launching January 17th. My first guest is Adam Carolla, comedian and king of podcasting, sharing how he turned his persona into a media empire.
I came from a world where nothing really ever worked out and no one ever got to do what they want to do, not for a living.
Download or subscribe to the Forbes Interview on iTunes now, and don't forget to give a rating and review.
Steve Austin, Unleashed.
I'm talking to Eric Embry about the fine art of staying married. How are you, Eric?
Hey, doing good, Steve, doing good.
Hey, man, I enjoyed talking to you last time, and got a lot of feedback on Twitter. People liked hearing the old school stuff, and just guys shooting the shit, telling stories. And obviously, you're one hell of a storyteller, so I want to come back and have part two. You ready for it?
Hey, you bet, buddy. You bet. I appreciate it.
Hey, dude, I just thought we'd shoot the shit. And one of the things, I can't remember if we got into too much last time, and I want to talk about Puerto Rico and color and stuff like that because, in an important angle, color or juice or blood, whatever you want to call it, can be so important in an angle. These days it's politically incorrect. It's unsafe with all the diseases. It's not going to happen like it used to. But going back into the other stuff, when I was watching you at World Class Championship Wrestling, USWA, or just I watched a lot of your work. When you knew you were going to have a promo, whether you were booking or whether you weren't booking, how much time did you put into the thought process of what you wanted to say, the message that you wanted to convey?
Well, the way that worked best for me, Steve, was kind of like off the top of my head. I didn't sit down and go over this and go over that. For me to do a successful promo, I've got to believe what I'm saying. And as that goes with any angle that you do, you've got to be into it and believe what you're doing. And that way you can portray to the people and have them feel what you're trying to make them feel. That makes sense? That's very old school.
But it makes perfect sense to me. But it just seems to me you've always had a gift for gab. Would you say that's true?
Well, yeah, kind of, sort of. Old school promos, all the guys get together one morning, usually at the studio or at the office where they film promos, and you know who you're working a program with, what's going on, and it's like, okay, Eric, you're up next, and you're against Steve Austin Tuesday night in Birmingham. And just very little bullet points, and then it's up to me to get that message across to sell tickets.
Selling tickets.
Name of the game, buddy. But back in the day, that's consisted of. There wasn't pictures, there wasn't novelty money. And common knowledge, you knew you wasn't going to get any of the TV revenue because that all went in the promoters' pockets. And actually, I don't think there was a lot of it back then anyway. Pay-per-views were unheard of. I think, was it Vern Gagne did the first pay-per-view years ago, that Super Clash in Chicago that I have still never been paid for, where that Jeff Jarrett and I had that match. And I think I heard Lawler a few years ago say he was still waiting for his check from that pay-per-view also. So, selling tickets, buddy, that's how you made your money.
Hey, talking about making money and, promos, trying to sell tickets to get people in the building. Let's talk about the old gimmick stands that the boys used to do as far as like 8x10s, this, that, or whatever at intermission. They'd do it at the Sportatorium. They'd do it at the shows in Tennessee. I'll never forget, I was starving when I broke out in Tennessee. I'd been working in Dallas for about 2 months. They're beating the tar out of me. Hills are getting heat on me. I was a young white meat baby face, didn't know what the fuck was going on. And finally old Jarrett decided, hey, we're going to send you down to Tennessee. and Chris Champion comes up to me, and because all the baby faces during intermission, they'd sell the pictures, and Chris had a hell of a layout. Jeff Jarrett had a hell of a layout. All the 8x10s, all the bells and whistles, T-shirts, whatnot. And they'd be back here, either running their own stand or they'd have someone helping them. And Chris Champion says, brother, he goes, why don't you sell some pictures? It's a good way to make some extra money. I said, Chris, man, I ain't got no pictures. He goes, well, hey, we can use my camera. We'll take some pictures of you. You can make some extra money like the rest of us are doing. And I said, okay, 2 months in the business, green as fuck, didn't know what the hell's going on. So he's nice enough to, take some pictures of me with his camera. And so I had 3 different poses, and I had about 10 copies of each picture made. And I was sitting out there in the first intermission. I wasn't over. I was new to the territory. No one knew who I was, didn't give a fuck who I was. And then, so finally, intermission, we did this a couple shows. I ain't sold one picture yet. Finally, this old lady, I'll never forget it. She had to have been at least 70 years old, and she bought one of my pictures. And after she bought that one fucking picture, back in the day, like wrestlers go through these certain phases where they got to have either the gimmick Kerry wallet, the briefcase was a thing at the time, then the fanny pack would come later on, but everybody had to have a briefcase. So since everybody in the wrestling business had a briefcase at the time, I had my little shitty aluminum one. All the guys that were making money had the Halliburton one, but I took the other, yep. But that meant you was making some money if you had the Halliburton one. That was the one to shoot for. So I took the other 29 pictures and put them in my briefcase, and I still think I have those photos, but I never made a fucking dime other than that one old lady buying that picture for me, and I know she's probably long since passed, but thank you very much. How did you do at the gimmick stand?
I did very good when I would do it. Again, from old school, let's use Dallas for an example. Jackie Fargo in Memphis and this and that always says, and the old timers always put into my mind, if you're standing out with the people, mingling with the people, what makes you any different than they are? Why would they want to buy a ticket to see you? Stay in the dressing room. So that was one of the big friendly fights Percy and I would have when we were in Dallas, is I didn't want to go out and do pictures, and Percy would just beg me and make me a lot of times. And, brother, we would make more on pictures and T-shirts than we made in the match payoff for that night. And thinking way back, I really think I started the Polaroid picture gimmick. We were in Corpus Christi, and I don't even know how I thought about it, this or that, but I went to Kmart and bought one of them Polaroid cameras and 2 packs of film, 2 10-packs. And in intermission, we announced for $5, have your picture with Eric Embry, and we sold out of those 20 pictures in no time flat. And Lori, one of the girls from Dallas, you probably remember Lori. Yeah. She would help us do anything, drive us anywhere. And Lori ran to Kmart and got more film, and we went out the next intermission and did it again. Well, we cleaned up, and lo and behold, Kerry was watching, and the next night, Kerry Von Erich had his Polaroid camera. And started doing it, and I have seen him with a briefcase full of money after an intermission in different towns and so forth. There's no way to even comprehend how much money he brought in off of Polaroids.
God dang, I remember I used to do 2 intermissions at that Sportatorium show in Dallas, Texas, and just to your point, they would be lined up to take pictures, and at $5 a pop, and no telling what they would go for these days. But man, that was easy money, but you had to be a draw like you guys were. I wasn't. It reminded me, I tried to talk to, do you remember the California stud Rod Price?
Rod Price, yes.
Well, they put us together, Gary Hart did, and as a tag team when we were working on the weekends, apart from USWA, and Jarrett was cool with it, and we were working at Metroplex Arena. And actually, he was supposed to go to Tennessee with me when I went, but he, decided to stay in Texas because he had fallen in love. But,
right, he was smart. He was smarter than others.
yeah. Well, I tried to talk to him earlier today, but the connection was so bad I couldn't record his voice. But a point of the story was they brought Rod in, and if you remember, at the time he just got finished playing some pro football. And he was big, jacked up, long blonde hair, had a great look, and he was about the only person in the dressing room that was kind of a comparable physique to Kerry. Now, obviously, he wasn't that Kerry physique because Kerry was at another level. But anyway, so I said, I don't know if it was you or Jerry that thought about the angle. Okay, we'll do the guy from the crowd, and then at a certain point, he'll jump Kerry during one of these autograph sessions. Well, Rod was a little bit green in the business, coming from the territory that he came from up in California, came out of Red Bastien School, but, he didn't have a whole lot of matches under his belt. He comes in, he's a little green, and the angle was to jump Kerry at the second autograph session because the first autograph session, there weren't going to be no cameras involved because the cameras wouldn't be there. The guys would be on break. So sure enough, the first autograph session comes up, and there's Rod Price all over Kerry like white on rice. He's beating the dog shit out of him. And I wasn't there personally. I was in the dressing room, and all I can remember when Kerry came back was him saying, "Not now, Rod, not now." Yeah, he's got about 300 people waiting in line to take a Polaroid picture. Rod thinks he's shooting an angle. Ain't no fucking cameras to capture it. So the angle died right there before it started.
Yeah, couldn't do it again. Couldn't do it for the second intermission.
God damn.
Yes. Kerry, what a good guy. I mean, Kerry Von Erich was too good for his own self. He just, he would give you the shirt off his back. He just, it was so much different than all the other brothers. It just, blew my mind. But
how was he different?
He wouldn't take advantage of someone. You could get him to sell for you in a match. He understood that his comeback wouldn't mean anything if he didn't sell for you before the comeback. Back to the kind of the Jerry Lawler higher and mightier than now, Kerry didn't have that type of attitude, or never had it toward me. Some of the other boys, well, I'm a Von Erich. I can do whatever I want to do. Well, that's to me, that's what cost them the wrestling world, because, man, they had the wrestling world by the balls at one time, and then they lost it.
Why did they lose it?
I think a lot to do with the attitude of the holier than thou. One of the technical reasons would be that, the old-timey promoters back in the day, they stayed in their territories. They respected the other territories, the other promoters' territories. And, world-class Fritz had the first TV that was going everywhere. And, my gosh, that TV was over. Them boys were over, man. And Fritz would not run shows against the other promoters in their territories. He wouldn't go nationwide. And he very well could have before Vince did, but Fritz wouldn't do it. And then I think all the tragedies, Kerry running into a damn parked police car and losing half of his foot. They kept that a big kayfabe that he was just, it was hurt, but, he'd actually lost half of his foot. And then they, I don't know whose idea it was before me, to bring in Lance Von Erich. This kid, never met him, but was no more a Von Erich than Steve Austin or Eric Embry was. And they had the people caught on because he was right from around there. So the fans realized that, wow, the Von Erichs have lied to us again. And it just, by then, Fritz was old, and I think, was tired and burned out. And he was just giving his boys a place to work, or I think he would have sold out years before if his boys wasn't involved, in making their living that way.
Man, I'll never forget. You know, I was, Jesus Christ, 2-3 months in the business. I wasn't worth a shit. I'd go to some of these local house shows that they were having. I was on the card, and someone wouldn't show up. So I actually got a chance to work with Kevin Von Erich and Kerry Von Erich. Now, this is in 89 and 90, right before I would go to USWA full-time. And I didn't have no business being in the same ring with them, much less the same state. That's how green I was. But, you know, I'd go in there, and we'd start the match off, and they knew I was green as shit. And so the match would last about 5 minutes. I'd shine them up, or they'd just beat me up. I'd get maybe one shot of heat on them, or maybe 2 punches, and then I'd be met with the iron claw, and then 1, 2, 3 on the back. I'm not complaining about getting beat by the Von Erichs in 5 minutes. It was just a blast to be in the ring with them. But I'll never forget, you know, one time I was going to a show. It was in Cleburne, you know, one of those shows that was around Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I needed gas. So I was driving a 1976 Monte Carlo. I pulled in the gas station. I was going to the show. Of course, I got my regular clothes on. I look over there, and there's Kerry. And Kerry's got his trunks and his boots on and a half shirt.
Yep,
I'm
half
thinking,
shirt.
goddamn, what the fuck? You know, I can dress over at the dressing room, but he was living a gimmick, brother.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He was. Unfortunately, the boys had demons that maybe we all had back then. And
I had my
Kerry.
fair share. I had my fair share. Yeah.
Kerry had a hard problem controlling his, and anything, he was Kerry Von Erich in Dallas, and anything was accessible to him. And Super Clash. We were at the hotel, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't care anymore. But I'm walking down the sidewalk, the balcony of the hotel, and I walk past Kerry's room, and it's like, holy gee. His door is open, and laying on the chest of drawers or the desk, whatever it was, that piece of furniture by the TV, was like a golf ball of cocaine. I mean, the biggest I had ever seen in my whole life. And it's like, holy, and the door open, and it's scattered everywhere. And I found Kerry down at the highway, watching the traffic go by. I got him back in his room, needless to say, and got him all situated, and he stayed in there. And then the next night was the Super Clash, the big pay-per-view, and needless to say, he was back in the right state of mind for that.
Were you there? Because I talked to Jerry Lawler on a podcast. It was probably a year or two ago, whenever it was. And I know you guys didn't really see eye to eye. You had many matches together, but he was working with Kerry that night. And Kerry had his blade on, and I guess he went to scratch underneath his armpit, and I guess he hadn't taped up his blade. And, boy, he gaffed the shit out of himself. So
gapped it open, brother. He was putting his robe on. Lawler was in the ring. And, I mean, guts were hanging out. And Vern Gagne was screaming at me. And I was like, damn, Vern, I didn't do nothing. He says, think of something. And took Kerry out and pointed him toward the ring. And I said, Kerry, somebody cut you on your way to the ring. Go. And that's what he went with.
Are you serious?
I swear, brother. No, Lawler wasn't in the ring yet, but because I can still see Lawler standing there saying, God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because we were running over on time, and everybody was panicking anyway, and then Kerry laid himself open. Poor guy. But that's what they went with. Yeah, it's somebody got him, it knifed him on the way to the ring.
Hey, speaking of getting color, I think I brought this up on the last time we talked. I don't know because I don't listen to my shows, but we was talking a little bit about getting color, and we was going to talk about it a little bit tonight. And I couldn't remember, I think, who taught me how to make my first blade, but now that I'm thinking about it, I believe it was Chris Adams, because that would have been the guy I was working with when I would have gotten color. And so, I just basically would take an old school razor blade, like you'd put one of those clamshell razors, and I just snip one down the middle, and then you'd have that half of a blade, which would be, I don't know, 1/4 inch wide maybe. I'd trim it down, and then I just cut a corner on the edge of it, and then I'd loop a piece of tape over it and stick the blade through the tape, and that'd kind of be my depth meter. And then that would be my pull tab. And so it was a little bit more elaborate than that. It was almost like a little shank that you would make in a prison, but it was flexible, and you could pull it off my wrist. And so that was my system. How did you manufacture your blades? Who taught you the art of it?
Well, I don't know, to be honest. I don't remember who taught me, other than probably experimenting. And I did keep mine on my wrist. A lot of the guys, Steve, kept them in their mouth, under their tongue.
Absolutely.
I said, hell no, there ain't no way. You potato me in the belly and I swallow it, I'm in trouble. But I pretty much like you, the scissors, you cut the blade out, and you get a little, like a little triangle at the top showing with the point, and tape it up, and tape it on, you always wear tape on my wrist anyway, and that's just where I kept mine. And when got ready for color, I would get my blade in my hand, and we would do whatever we were going to do, run me into the wall, the ring pole, or just keep, 15 punches from a baby face real quick in the head and start bleeding, or, like that. And then I would put it in my trunks, drop it in my trunks when I knew I was had a good enough cut, was bleeding good enough, and knew it wasn't going to stop. Because once I put it in my trunks, I knew I could never find it to get it out without being obvious. And only time I was working with Jeff Jarrett in Memphis one night. You're bringing back lots of memories, buddy. And I remember Jeff potatoed me so hard. We're going to get color, and he potatoed me so hard, it knocked my blade out of my hand. My blade went over the barriers that were around the ring at the feet of the people in the front row. And it's like, shit. I said, hit me again. And he hit me, and I took a bump over the barrier to their feet and picked it up in my mouth, and nobody ever was the wiser. Nobody caught me.
Did you ever have any malfunctions? I've told this story before, but I think I was working with Dustin Rhodes, World Championship Wrestling. It was that Halloween Havoc show, and I think I got color in that show, but what I did was I made the mistake. I made my blade, my point was too long, and so I couldn't dig it in. And so I was trying like a sumbitch to get some color, but I couldn't push the blade in to break the skin enough. So finally I give up, but it wasn't for a lack of trying. And so at the end of the match, it looked like a chicken had peeled out of my forehead about 4 times. I had all these horizontal scratches on my forehead, but none would qualify as a cut. And it damn sure didn't bleed to the quality of blood that I was looking for. So that was about really, I think, my only mishap with trying to get color and not being able to get color. And on that same note, in that same night, on the day of that match, I'd gotten color plenty of times. That one time in that famous match with you in the Sportatorium, with all the baby faces being handcuffed, so I was pretty experienced at it. But someone told me, hey, Steve, if you take a couple of aspirin, you'll thin your blood and you'll bleed better. So I took a handful of aspirin before that match, and mister, on an empty stomach, I just don't take a shitload of aspirin. I had the biggest gut bomb going out to that ring, and then so in theory, I should have been able to go out there and have a fucking bloodbath, but my blade was flimsy, my gut was hurt. I was just lucky I made it through the goddamn match.
Oh, yeah. The aspirin is definitely, or some whiskey or something, some real strong alcohol, vodka. And, everybody knows I always had a lot of alcohol in me when I was working. And
what'd you drink before a match?
Oh, I kept 6-pack in my bag.
Really?
Yes. Now that wasn't my whole career. That was the last 2 or 3 years. I was kind of incognito about it. but the blood just flowed so much more freely. I can remember one time in Jacksonville, Florida, working against the spoiler, Don Jardine. And, Florida, this is when I got my first real push from a real wrestling company with Eddie Graham there in Florida, and had won the TV title and this and that. And we were in Jacksonville in an angle with spoiler, Don Jardine, and for some reason, I couldn't bleed. I tried, and, I don't know if the blade, I taped it up wrong or whatever. So you just call an audible. I said, hard way, bust me, I can't bleed. And to an old-timer, you only got to tell them once, and they knock the shit out of you. He split me right open one shot, and I bled like a pig.
What did he do? Did he bust you across the brow or what?
Yeah, no, across the head with the TV title.
That'll do it.
Put me to my knees, buddy. And then that damn Bugsy McGraw, God love him, he helped me so much in Florida when I was learning. But Bugsy got me, now I'm green, never been pushed before.
Yeah.
And got me in the dressing room. He said, here, now, we got to take some pictures of this and stuff for the program and everything. He said, let me trim a little bit of this hair away from it. Well, my God, when we went to the hospital that night, the doctor started screaming at the nurses in the emergency room, who cut his hair? Who did this? Who did this? Where Bugsy cut out a damn 4 or 5 inch circle off the top of my head for a 2-inch gash.
Man, back in the day, I remember one time we was working Phoenix, Arizona, I believe, and I forgot a lot of shit, but I remember a couple of things. And me and Dustin Rhodes used to love to work together, and Grizzly Smith was running the show that night. And Dustin came over to me and he goes, hey, man, what do you think about getting a little color tonight? And I said, shit, yeah, man, sounds good to me. You know how it is when you're younger in business. Because back then, I mean, if you get called a blade, it's kind of like an honor. You're gonna bleed in the ring.
It's important. Yeah, it's important.
So Dustin goes over to Grizz and he goes, hey, Grizz, me and Steve was wondering if we'd get a little color tonight. Old Grizz, 6'9", hand on his chin. That sounds like it might be a good idea. Yeah, go ahead. Well, that's all he needed to say, boy. We went out there with a couple of hatchets, and, boy, we bled like a couple of pigs. And we was probably, mid-card. It might have been right after intermission. Might have been before intermission. I don't know, but Grizz gave us the green light, and goddamn, we both hit a gusher. And we came back into the dressing room. Lex Luger was back there getting all pumped up and oiled up and getting ready to go out there for the semi-main or the main, and here comes me and Dustin walking back just bleeding from head to toe. He looked at us like he'd seen a ghost. We're at a fucking spot show in Phoenix, a regular house show in Phoenix. There are probably 2,500 people there, but we're trying to build up the house. So anyway, it was just one of those things that I always remember, just trying to do something to make a difference. There was no reason for us to get color, but hey, man, when you're young and you just want to go out there and do something, it was a fun day at the office. But you see by the look on Lex Luger's face, he did not get what we were trying to do.
He's thinking, how am I going to follow that? That's what he's thinking.
But what did you think the first time when someone said, hey, man, because, like when you get into business or, like when I was watching, you see somebody bleeding and you don't know how it's done. And let's don't go over to, it doesn't need to be a tutorial. I think everybody kind of gets it by now. But all of a sudden, you're in the dressing room and you're making a blade, and you go out there and you get color for your first time, or this time, or your 100th or your 1,000th time. Anytime you stick a razor blade into your forehead and drag it across to open yourself up, I mean, most people think that's pretty fucking crazy.
Well, most sane people are correct in thinking that's crazy. But Steve, back then there was no such thing, or we did not know about hepatitis C. We didn't know about hepatitis C. We all bled all over each other, this or that. And just to be perfectly honest, I'm in my second treatment with this new stuff that's supposed to cure the hepatitis C that they've discovered 25 years later that I've had.
Where'd you pick up the hepatitis C at?
I have no clue. They said I've had it a very long time. So I said, well, no shit. I used to be a professional wrestler. And contrary to popular belief, there is, I have never seen any fake blood in professional wrestling. You know, there are no blood capsules. There is no fake blood. It's all real blood. So, you know, it could have come from anybody. I know Bobby Jaggers had it real bad, and his daughter did a thing on the internet that I read. I didn't know he had it back then, and he bled all over me a million different times, and you know, it just had to be from there, because in all my extracurricular activities over the years, I never did any kind of drug that you used a needle for, ever. I hate needles. I'm scared of needles. I hate shots from a doctor. So I did not get it from using a dirty needle, because that was impossible. I never used a needle ever. And so it come from somebody bleeding on me. You know, Abdullah's bled all over me. He was in a lawsuit about it or something with somebody. And but, I mean, you know, a lot of the old-timers, the ones that are still alive, next time you go to your doctor, have them check you, because it tears your liver up.
But you know what? Back in the day, you know, when you asked, you called upon to do a little business there, you know, I always enjoyed it myself. And,
yeah, me too.
I'm not speaking of people that cut or self-harm. I'm not speaking about that at all. I'm talking about in a ring. I'm talking about pro wrestling and talking about drama and storylines. But you know, back in the day, you knew that what you were doing was a little bit different. You knew you were in a real germy, dirty environment. I remember laying on that mat in the Dallas Sportatorium or on any mat, any part of the world, guys coming down the aisle from the dressing room, boots been wherever, and taking a leak at the urinal, sitting on the john, boots on the mat. I mean, it's one of the dirtiest environments that you can ever work in or be in. And the smell of that mat, and going back to the way we described the Sportatorium last time I talked to you, but just the smell of that mat, and all of a sudden you get color, and all of a sudden that color starts dripping down onto that mat, and you start painting that canvas, and that picture starts coming alive, and you with that blonde hair, or like a Flair with that blonde hair, well, all of a sudden the crowd comes alive. But God damn it, you know, you think of all the shit that's down there, you know, because this was, dude, last time I got color had to have been in the 2000s, but AIDS was around, but guys didn't even think about it, and no one questioned it. If someone said, "Hey man, you get color," or if someone was going to get color that you were working with, you didn't even give a fuck. I mean, you kind of questioned what their social habits were, but you went ahead and did it because that's what the deal was.
Sure. I would much rather me be bleeding than someone else bleeding. And you just hit on it. Back then, we never thought about it. We didn't think about how dirty that mat was or how bad it stunk. It was part of our life. It was just incorporated in to being a professional wrestler. If I was a wrestler today, would I work with someone that started bleeding? Hell no. Not at all. And they couldn't pay me enough to. But back then, it was just part of the job description, part of the job requirement. And used in the right way, blood helped you draw big money. You could draw money, but blood helped you draw big money. At what a price, though, huh? If we'd only known.
But these days, I think it's kind of because people are so smart. I don't know that the blood draws money anymore, but I do agree with you. Back in the day, it damn sure did. It multiplied it.
Oh, yeah. Today, no, because everybody knows where it's coming from. It's not coming out of the blood capsule. That dumbass cut his head. Back then, it would help that angle get over because, you got a baby face selling and bleeding. Those people sitting in the seats can translate it right from that baby face. Those people feel what it appears that baby face is feeling, getting the shit beat out of him. They can feel it, and the blood starts running down his face. It paints the rest of the picture.
And just like you're just saying, as they feel for that baby face, when he finally gets his comeuppance on that hill and busts him open in return, whoo,
Yes, yes.
and then whether he's going to go over or it's going to be a screw job finish, so the heel maintains the heat. You got the sympathy for him because he had to fight from underneath, and then he gets his vendetta or his comeuppance because he busts the heel open. Then it's either fuck job on the finish to maintain the heat, or he goes over whether it's a quick 1, 2, 3 or with his finish. It is what it is. But the blood on either end, or maybe the heel doesn't get color till the next time they meet, and they end with heat.
Oh, yeah, yes. A good program by two seasoned veterans is kind of like sex. And you say, huh? I'll try to explain this. As a baby face, you never want to let that crowd climax. Because if they climax, it's over. They're not going to spend their money next week to see you get even. So you bring it up to just almost that climax, and then you stop. Everybody's been there in sex. You bring it up to almost that orgasm, but then you cut it off. And you bet your ass they're going to buy their ticket for next week and come and see you get yours back. And when you're ready for the program's ending, that's when you let the fans climax. Boom. That makes sense?
That makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to the people that listen to. I get it. Okay, everyone walking this planet is a unique individual. You don't walk like anyone else, or talk like anyone else, or even sleep like anyone else. So why is your mattress one size fits all? It doesn't have to be anymore, thanks to Helix. Go to helixsleep.com, answer a few simple questions, and they'll use their proprietary algorithm to run a 3D biomechanical model of your body to create the most comfortable mattress you've ever slept on. Helix worked with the world's leading sleep scientists to develop this formula so that everyone can get an affordable, customized mattress and enjoy the best sleep of their lives. Helix even customizes each side of the mattress for all you couples out there. And here's the best part. You have 100 nights to try it out, and if you don't love your custom mattress, Helix will pick it up for free and give you a full refund, no questions asked. So go to helixsleep.com/podcast and get $50 off your order. That's helixsleep.com/podcast, helixsleep.com/podcast.
Hey, it's Layla from Layla Ali Lifestyle on PodcastOne. Now, as an undefeated boxing champion turned fitness and wellness expert, I'm going to be bringing you the information that you want to hear. Be a champion in every area of your life. You can download new episodes of Layla Ali Lifestyle every Thursday at PodcastOne.com or subscribe at iTunes.
Steve Austin Unleashed.
Back in the day, when I was working for Vince in the WWF, I used to hear old booking stories of Vince, and they would be at his swimming pool, and maybe Pat Patterson was there or whoever, but they were booking the territory. And it was only 2 or 3 guys. They weren't writing TV shows. They were booking the territory and the TV, or whatever would be, whatever the TV called for. But Vince, back in the day, would book about a year in advance because he could. When you were booking the territories, you were booking, whether it was Dallas, I know you booked Dallas, I know you booked Puerto Rico as well, but in booking a territory like that, how far down the road could you book? Monthly?
No. I tried to stay 2 to 3 weeks out, and not being so blind or set in my ways that I would not adjust as we went. So, but like the long range, like tear the banner down and win, that was probably one of the longest time periods to book something out because we had a date. We had to cease and desist using the world-class name. So that Friday night before that date, there's the climax. All right, and then we built up to it. And I always tried to stay 2 to 3 weeks out. 2 weeks was more of a better formula for me, and that way you know exactly what you're doing next week and what you need to do tonight to accomplish getting those people to come back for next week. But I wasn't good enough to ever book it like some of the guys did, a month, 2 months. I wasn't that good. I just a couple weeks to 3 weeks, probably tops.
So how do you strike a balance of which heels to heat up? I mean, what do we generally have, as far as matches on a card, or you before me, matches on a card, 6 to 8 on a normal house show type setting?
Yeah, on a big show, your big towns, 6-ish, 5, 6.
Okay.
Kind of to what the promoter, what the territory is programmed to, is used to having.
So would you ever say, okay, let's say I've got 6 matches on this card, how many heels I need over, how many babies I need over? Or is all the baby faces going to get their hand raised? How did you approach that aspect of it?
Well, by each individual angle, by each individual person, except if you're at a spot show and the house is the shits, all baby faces go over tonight. Let those people leave happy, to where maybe next time you come back to that town next year or something, a heel's not going to lose any steam, lose any heat by putting a baby face over in a town where there's nobody there. But the Buck Robley, that was Buck's scenario, and I always used it. It always worked like that. But you have to, like say in Dallas, as a weekly town, you have to gauge each individual match. There's no set formula like 4 baby faces over, 3 heels over, anything like that. You'd have to go with each individual match and open with a bang and close with a bang. The first match on a card is as important to me as a booker as the last match, because that first match on the card, if you put 2 green guys or two that's got their head up their ass that night on first, they're going to set the tone for the rest of your matches for the rest of the evening. So always open with a bang and close with your hot angle. And who goes over in this first match? Well, I know next week or the week after I'm going to shoot an angle with this heel, so I'm going to let this heel go over. Or vice versa. I'm going to move this baby face up, shoot this angle here next week or 2 weeks from now. So baby face needs to go over. So you just have to gauge it to each individual match.
What do you think was the most talented roster you ever worked with or had a hand in, whether you was just on the crew or booking throughout all your territories that you went through?
Wow. What a question. Dallas, we had a heck of a crew there at one time. Puerto Rico had a tremendous talent in Puerto Rico. Mexico, tremendous. If you're booking, you surround yourself with good talent by all means. But I don't know that one would really outweigh. Oklahoma, I worked that territory, and it didn't have much talent. Oregon, I worked that territory, and there's a little-known feller there by the name of Roddy Piper and Buddy Rose that carried the whole territory. Then the sheep herders came, and but yeah, Memphis. When I booked Memphis, I worked Memphis once before years ago, and they were really hurting for talent. They had Lawler and Dundee, but one match is not going to draw your whole house. And then when I went to book there, talent was limited because there wasn't very many places left anymore, and everybody had gone to New York.
Did
I
you
don't really
book
have
Mexico,
an answer.
or did you book Mexico?
Yes. No, I just worked Mexico and come up with a lot of the ideas and angles for my matches with the promoter, and but nothing to do with any of the other matches at all. And I was, as far as I knew, for this office, I was the first bleach blonde that had worked there, and when I worked my first big show in Mexico, and Theas was there with me. He's the one that got me there. And had a pretty much a stinking match because the styles in Mexico and here are completely different. Mexico's style is more like today's style: bing, bang, boom, up, down, go. High spot, high spot, high spot, high spot, and nobody sails. So after the match, the promoter hollered at me. I went over, Carlos Manes Flores. I can still remember his name. And he said, "Amigo, you have got to work Mexican style." And then it hit me. I won't be different. So I talked to him, and then I got with Enrique Vera, who was top babyface there. And I said, "Please, next week, you work my style, American style." And explain to him selling. And he's like, "Oh, amigo, I can't do that." He spoke a little English. That's why I picked him. And he really didn't think he could. And I said, "Please, if you work my style and listen to me, and we don't get over, if we don't tear this son of a bitch down, then I will stay here one more week and put you over right in the middle with your finish, 1, 2, 3, and then I go back to the States." And he said, "Okay." He said, I'll do it. And he thought I was going to leave.
Yeah.
And brother, and Rena Torreo was about 20, probably 20,000 people. I mean, just unreal. Big outdoor arena. And Enrique Vera sold. He kept on. He said, "Amigo, come back. Not yet. Keep selling. These people had never seen a Mexican sell before, brother. Oh, my God, you're talking about heat. I mean, red hot white heat. And then he got his come back in, and then I screwed him. And I was off and running in Mexico. I mean, I could do anything I wanted. I had Acapulco on Tuesday nights and Mondays off. The office would fly me to Acapulco on Monday morning. I had do anything I wanted to do. I could charter a boat by myself and go fishing. Anything I wanted to do. Bring the office the receipt back. They would reimburse me. I mean, Steve, I was red hot there. Unreal. They would have to put policemen around me to take me from the dressing room to the ring. I couldn't get out of the ring until they come to get me back to the dressing room. Not in one town, all the towns. It was, unreal. And the funny thing about Mexico, the kayfabe was there, but it wasn't. Who would take me to the towns? Enrique Vera. I'm working the program with him. In his Trans Am, we would pull into the front of the arena, hundreds of people be outside, watch us get out of the same car, go into the building, have our match, and I had all the heat, and then watch us come out, get in the same car, and drive off.
Come on.
I swear, brother, I swear. I could never figure that out.
What year was that?
Early 80s. 81, 82, 83, somewhere along in there.
So, but
yeah, unreal.
You never work a lucha libre style. You did your stuff.
Yes. And then the other guys, Mil Mascaras, Dos Carlos, Enrique Vera, Fishman, all the big dogs, when they want to work with me, say, "Amigo, I work your style. Amigo, I work your style."
They got it.
Yes. I mean, it was unreal.
Hey, what was the difference, or was there a difference between booking United States versus, or like World Class or USWA versus Puerto Rico?
The difference, Puerto Rico was blood and guts. World Class was more reversed psychology, reverse child psychology, I guess you could say. In Puerto Rico, you had to pull out the stops. Puerto Rico was, I don't know how to explain it, and I want to get into Puerto Rico in a minute too, and you know what I'm talking about. But Puerto Rico was, did you ever work Puerto Rico, Steve?
No, I never did.
No? Well, you're lucky. A lot of the big guys back in the day would not go to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was the most dangerous place to work on the face of the earth, period. The people were vicious. like in Ponce, and this is 25 years ago, I can remember. In Ponce, it was like a indoor arena with no ringside because you would get killed. But as you come back to the dressing room to go between the bleachers, the entranceway, they would throw live rats at you. A live rat, all right, and not a girl. I mean a four-legged rat that chew your ass up. They would throw spark plugs at you in the ring. You know, one of those hits you in the eye, you're blind. I had to, in Puerto Rico, I got smart. I bought cans of this black punk rock hairspray. I would spray my hair black, or I couldn't go out on the street to do anything. Couldn't go to the beach, couldn't do nothing. I mean, fight. And Puerto Rico had a good run with Abdullah the Butcher. Blood and guts. And, you know, every, on a big show, if they had 10 matches, seven of them were bloody.
Right.
You know, that's the difference in the two places. Or that's the difference between Puerto Rico and any place. I mean, you had to cut your head off there, period. If it wasn't bloody, you wasn't in a top angle.
How was life in Puerto Rico? You lived it up pretty good there.
Life in Puerto Rico was very dangerous until I got smart and would spray my blonde hair black and was not recognized. I actually had my wife and kid there at one time. They never left the compound of the condominium that was fenced in, but and there it wasn't as dangerous right there because at the pool and so forth, people got to know you. It was like, you know, you were a celebrity there. And but you come outside that compound to go to the grocery store or anywhere, I mean, it was, oh, my God. To give you an idea, the sheep herders, Luke and Butch Miller, Luke Williams, we were coming back from a town one night, and we got pulled over by an ambulance. You know, the ambulance that picks up hurt people. We got pulled over on the side of the road, and they come up. We end up going by. They invite us back to the back of the ambulance, and they wanted autographs, and they were drunker than a hoot owl. And what they were doing, Steve, they were out driving around the island looking for people to pick up to take to the hospital where they could make money. They were out prowling looking for customers.
How long did you work in Puerto Rico? Would you stay there for a year at a time or just come and go if you brought your family with you?
Right. I was there, probably a year and a half or so, one run, a year run. A few months, and then in and out on big shows and weekends. I spent a lot of time in Puerto Rico over the years, and booked it twice, maybe three times. I had to book there.
How did you lobby for the book, or did they offer it to you?
Carlos offered it to me. Yeah, he just. I'd met Carlos Colon in San Antonio working for Joe Blanchard, with Luke Williams booking, and Luke was bringing in Carlos for shows, and then Luke left San Antonio and went to Puerto Rico to book, and then that's when I got the book in San Antonio, and then after that run, Luke brought me to Puerto Rico, and then as Luke and Butch left Puerto Rico, Carlos had a meeting, and we come up with a deal, and that's the first time I booked Puerto Rico.
Okay, before we go back to Puerto Rico, let's go back to Texas. How much heat was between the San Antonio office and the Dallas office?
Back in the day, a whole lot.
Right.
Joe Blanchard, who started Southwest Wrestling in San Antonio, used to work with Fritz.
Yep.
For Fritz, with Fritz, they promoted together and so forth. And I don't really know what happened there, but probably money. But Joe broke away and formed Southwest Championship Wrestling, which was opposition, and Dallas kind of stayed up in the top part of Texas, but then they would start coming to San Antonio as business picked up with Luke booking and so forth to run opposition because Southwest was really taking off. It was a good territory there for a while.
What was Paul Bosch's take on that from the Houston area? Because He was NWA.
Yeah, Paul.
Go ahead.
Right. Paul just always stayed Houston.
Right.
That just Houston. Boom. And I think Paul went with the Von Erichs because they were a big draw compared to Tully, which wasn't much of a draw at all then. And we didn't. We started running Beaumont, and then we did every once in a while a smaller town right at Houston. We never. I think once they did a big show. Joe did a big show in Houston when I was there that just bombed. He lost his butt at it. Tully rented the new Rosemont Horizon, the new building there, whatever it was back then, and oh my gosh, it bombed. There wasn't 1,000 people there.
Was that a standalone show, or did Paul put a show on in opposition? Because, I mean, that was like an old NWA roadblock thing. If someone was going to try to come into their town, they'd run another show, opposition with all the stars.
Right. Well, now there wasn't one that night, but I think you're helping me remember there was one that week.
Right.
There was one that week, and Paul usually I think just ran monthly at Houston.
Did you work with Paul?
Right. No, but I have heard nothing but good things about Paul Bosch from all the guys over the years.
And that's one of the things I heard too, that he was a great payoff guy. If you earned the money, he would pay it to you. And of course, that's the promotion that I grew up on in Edna, Texas, as a kid.
Oh.
I grew up watching Houston wrestling, and watching Paul Bosch do the commercials and stuff like that, or his announcing or his interviewing. But I'd always heard good things about him too.
Yeah. It to give you an inside picture on payoffs, and I'm going to use Dallas, Jerry Jarrett for an example. And I had what we would do on all the town. I did all the payoffs in Dallas. Never had any help. Only got bitched at if I overpaid. And the formula for there, and it was his Memphis territory too, and would be close to everyone else's territory, but everyone else could have probably paid a little bit more than Jerry paid. But we would take the state tax off the top of the house, okay? Then there was a 10% booking fee that came off. Okay, the booking fee went to Jarrett to help offset TV costs and so forth. And then I had 33% of the gate after the tax, the state tax, and the 10% booking fee. I had 33% to pay the talent on the card. So, talent doesn't sound like a whole lot, and it's really not. On a $10,000 net house, what have I got? $3,300 to pay a big crowd, a big card. That would be a Dallas card. And many times, I would pay myself less than people in the first match because I felt bad because the main events were sometimes making $150, $200 when they should have been making $3 or $4. And on the cage with PY, where we sold out. Well, it was almost a sellout. There was like 7 tickets left up by the cage or something, but they called it a sellout. And I overpaid that card $300. The biggest house that had been in the Sportatorium for many years, and by far Jarrett's biggest house. I overpaid it $300, Steve, and you would have thought the Sportatorium was on fire with the phone lines burning up about why did you give my money away?
$300 off the best house he's ever had?
Yes, I overpaid it $300. That's not your money, Eric Embry. That's not the talent's money, Eric Embry. That's my money. You just stuck your hand in my pocket and took my money and gave them.
What'd you tell him?
And, take it out of mine. Take it out of my check.
Yeah.
Just take it out of my check. And he said, and he told me, I will. And he did.
How was it to work for? Was it
very, very, very good. Very easy to work for. He left me alone. And, he would, he told me one time, he said, Deborah asked me what the main event is tonight in Dallas, that's why I'm calling you. He said, hell, the only thing I told her, you against Akbar's people. And, then I'd tell him what it was. Deborah was his wife, or is his wife. And, but, yeah, I overpaid it $300 and got an ass chewing. and that's back when Max Andrews, that had the syndication with Jerry Jarrett, per Jerry Lawler, they had a salary of $10,000 a week apiece just off the syndication. $10,000 a week apiece off the syndication, off that syndicated show that went everywhere. And I got an ass chewing for overpaying $300.
What did they pay you for whatever you'd make, for the match or the angle that you're in, for the house that you drew? But what did the booking fee pay? I mean, whoever had the book, is that a percentage above and beyond the house, or what is it?
Yeah, it's a deal that each booker works out with the promoter. And I had a 20% of the profit in Dallas, but did not include the syndication. Syndication was separate entity that I had, I was producing it and writing it and, doing the whole show, but I had nothing to do with how they marketed the TV, so they made all that money.
Hey, man, I steered you back to Texas, but I want to get back into Puerto Rico. Last time we were talking about Bruiser Brody. And
yes.
I never got a chance to meet the man. I didn't know what kind of guy he was. Seemed like a very smart guy from some of the interviews I've seen him do.
Very, very, very smart to the business. Very, very smart to him. Steve, there was two people. There was a Frank Goodish and a Bruiser Brody. Completely two different people. Bruiser Brody knew how to take care of himself and make money. Frank Goodish was a good guy. Bruiser Brody was not a nice guy. Bruiser would take advantage if he had to, whatever it took to make that dollar. That's why promoters really loved him. They knew they were going to have to fight with him over the payoff, but Brody knew how to draw money, period.
Well, how was he to work with?
Very stiff. Brody, him and Stan Hansen made a ton of money in Japan. And Stan didn't work the States a whole lot because he had such a good deal in Japan, and, he stayed home, where Brody was easier to get for shows on his off-Japan dates than any of the other ones, really. Abby was kind of lenient, but he liked to stay home, too, some, because he had such a good deal over there. But Brody was I don't know. Brody was a buddy. Wasn't a friend. He was a buddy. When I was booking Puerto Rico, I brought him into Puerto Rico. When I was booking in San Antonio, I would bring him into San Antonio. And, Brody, I can remember one time San Antonio or Dallas, I don't remember. Maybe this will explain Brody. He asked me, he said, Eric, why don't I intimidate you? And I looked at him, and, he's a big son of a gun, woolly booger, mean-looking as hell. And I said, Frank, I probably think a lot like you. If anybody can intimidate me in this wrestling business, I need to take my shit and go home. And we got along great ever since then, after that. But he understood, I think, that, to him, he needed to intimidate to protect his character. Maybe that makes sense. And he knew who he could intimidate and who he couldn't intimidate also, I think. He was a smart son of a gun and a hell of a talent. But, he was the old school, old-timer, that if that guy he was working with, if Brody thought that guy was making him look bad, Brody would just click his clock and whoop his ass in real school time. I've seen that happen a few times.
So he was a legitimately tough guy.
Yes, he was tough. Yeah, he was tough. And, like I say, he would show you he was tough.
What was your take on what happened to him in Puerto Rico?
Well, that's oh my gosh, that's a long story, Steve. And on the last podcast, Steve, we mentioned, you asked me if I would come back and talk about Brody in Puerto Rico. Well, I said, well, sure, I will. I have a different version of the story that's out there and so forth. And lo and behold, Saturday, about 11 o'clock Saturday morning, I got a phone call on my cell phone, and it said unknown number. And I usually wouldn't even answer it, but I was working, and I was in the rain, I was wet, and I answered it. And, quote, a voice told me, "Hey, Embry, you better watch what you say about Puerto Rico and Brody." Click, hung up. Well, that has just thoroughly pissed me off. It makes me so mad I can't even think or talk. But there's only two people that has ever called me Embry consistently, constantly over my career. And that was Barabbas in Puerto Rico and Victor Jovica in Puerto Rico. So in my mind, one of them made that call to me. And how what I say now, 24, 25 years later, could affect anything, I don't understand their thinking. But, when I booked there and was in the office all day with Jovica, I couldn't be intimidated now. And why in the hell they think they could maybe intimidate me now where they couldn't back then, I don't know. But from wherever it came from, not intimidated in the least. And Carlos Colon, Victor Jovica, Puerto Rico. All right, well, I'll get back on the Brody thing. Man, they control that island. I haven't been there for a very long time. I don't know how it is now. But in my opinion, the way it was back then is those guys controlled that island. From the cops to the government, you think? Well, when an American would go into the island, Steve, and work, before you leave, you have to meet with a tax man from Puerto Rico and save your receipts and this and that. It's like doing your United States income tax, but doing it in Puerto Rico for the Puerto Rican income tax. Well, the first time I had to meet with a tax man, had no clue that this was going on. And then I had, you got to come in such and such day, meet with a tax man. Well, what's this? So you have to pay Puerto Rican income taxes. Okay. So I asked different people, and it seemed to be the norm. And so I went in, and Jovica always met with the wrestler and the tax man. I owed almost $3,000 in taxes there. And it's like, oh, my God. And I bitched a little, this and that. And then I asked the tax guy for some credentials, for an ID. I said, I want to see an ID showing me who you really are. He didn't have it with him. I made a little stink, this and that. The meeting's over, left the paperwork. Jovica says, I'll take care of it, da-da-da-da-da. The office the next day, I owed $300. And Jovica said, don't worry, the office will take care of it. That's a bullshit tax thing they had going there, brother. I don't care what they say, and I said it. You see you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There ain't no telling how much money Jovica got like that, or whoever was in on it. They had the good guy, bad guy down pat. Carlos was the good guy, and I like Carlos Colon. And Jovica was always the bad guy. If it was you had an argument over money, it was, well, Jovica says that's all I can pay you, and so forth. But the invader, Jose Gonzalez, who killed Brody, I am definitely not taking up for Jose and not condoning what happened. But with what I'm saying, I'm trying to shed a little light. With booking Puerto Rico, I would call Brody and say, hey, can you come in such and such dates? Boom. We'd make a deal. He would fly in, fly back out. I couldn't count the number of times that Jose Gonzalez Invader, who was part of the office, would come to the office with whelps and bruises all over him where he had worked with Brody the night before. Real whelps and bruises where Brody just whooped his ass. When I would tell Carlos or Jose, okay, I've got Brody coming, oh God, amigo, please don't book me with him. Jose, please don't book me with him. He hurts me. And sometimes I would go to the hotel or see Brody that night in the dressing room and beg him, please don't whoop Jose's ass tonight. Please, fuck him. Please don't hurt him. Please. This went on not just one time I was there booking. This went on all the times I was there booking. This built up for a very long time. Jose once told me that Brody had made a joke to him about his baby that had drowned. And would Frank do that? I don't know. But Jose was painting his house one time, and his baby crawled and fell into the swimming pool and drowned. And Jose said that Brody had made a joke to him about that. So the heat between the two was tremendous. It's nothing that built up overnight. It built up for years. What happened that night, I don't know. I wasn't there. I've heard all the stories like everybody else has heard about how Jose called him into the shower, how there was a fight in the shower, and Javica was pulling Brody by the hair, and Jose stabbed him. After that, I didn't go back for a while. I have been back since then, since that happened. And I asked Jose about that one time. I said, Jose, what really happened? He said, amigo, I did not mean to kill him. I meant to show him to not fuck with me anymore. And I was like, wow. At one time, Javica told me, and Javica was about 3/4 lit, which he was a lot of times, but told me, was bragging to me about how he got the invader off for murder. I could still see him telling me, I got invader off for murder. I got invader off for murder. It cost me $180,000, but I got him off. And I was like, holy gee. That was the straw that broke my Puerto Rico back. I never went back after that, after Javica told me that. Never went back because I didn't know what had happened. But, you know, I knew there was heat with Brody and Jose over the years. And but when Javica was bragging to me about that, it blew my mind. It was like, oh, it made me sick. And that goes back to just showing that Javica and Carlos controlled that island back then, period. They controlled it. And I also want to say, you know, Dutch Mantell and Tony Atlas was in the dressing room, kind of saw what happened that night, and did not go back for the trial. Well, I understand Dutch got subpoenaed, but Dutch said he got his subpoena after the trial was over. Like 2 days or something after the trial was over, he got a subpoena to be there 2 days ago for the trial. But in anybody's defense that was in that dressing room that didn't go back for that trial, there is no doubt in my mind, Steve, if anybody had went back to that for that trial, they would have not left that island alive, and they would have never made it to the trial. That's how much control that office has on that island.
God damn.
Some heavy shit, ain't it?
Yeah,
but it's true. And for the son of a bitches to call and semi-threaten me, they can all kiss my ass. I know I can never go to Puerto Rico and work again, but guess what? I'm not going to want to go to Puerto Rico anyway. It's unreal. And there was also an inside that I got so mad talking about it. Bruiser, and I know this is true, Victor Quinones, little Victor, had loaned the office there a lot of money per Victor, not Javica, Quinones. And Bruiser had also loaned them, and a quote to me was $50,000. And he did not get it back in the time that he was supposed to get it back and so forth. And Brody had demanded, in no uncertain terms, had let him know, I want my money and I want it tonight. I want my money. I want it now. And that's when the murder happened.
God damn.
And I know that's true. I lived in Little Victor's apartment with him there, and he was just a buddy. Went to Japan for him. He was just an honest son of a gun, and he had lost his money he had loaned them, and Brody wasn't going to lose his. And did that play a part in all that? Yes, I think it did in my mind. In my mind, it did.
What year was that? I can't even remember.
Oh, Lord. The end of the 80s. 87, 88, 89, somewhere along in there.
What did you do after you left there?
Which time?
No, after Brody got killed. I mean,
Oh, I was in Dallas when Brody got killed.
How'd you take the news?
Oh, I remember we were on a spot show up in Oklahoma, and it was like, what? Rick Hazard come in and said it. And it was like, whoa, no way. It was unreal. I don't know. I still don't believe it happened, but God, it did happen. But it was unreal. And, I'm thinking like, damn, that, it could have been me, because I really thought that I was close with them. And, for Jose to do that, and there's no doubt he did it. He says self-defense, but naturally, hell, he's not going to want to go to prison the rest of his life. He's going to say anything, and it just still unreal. But those guys they proved they can get away with anything. They can do anything they want on that island. Period. I'm through now, Steve. It pisses me off though.
God damn, that's some heavy shit.
Yeah. And one of the big things, Steve, is, I worked a long time in Mexico. Stayed there a year and a half the first time. So I picked up a little Spanish, This was before Puerto Rico. And I don't speak proper, good grammared Spanish, but I kayfabed them over there. I couldn't speak a word of Spanish. So when they didn't want me to hear something in the office, what'd they do? They talked Spanish, and I played stupid. So, hey, guys, I knew a whole lot of your shit that you were talking about in there. They let them chew on that for a little while. And, the cops would even, the police department, the big shots, the little policemen didn't know, but the higher-ups, they would call the wrestling office, Steve, and give them a heads up. We're going to bust so-and-so projects tomorrow. Tell your guys to stay out of there. And lo and behold, that damn projects where we go get stuff gets busted. And not once, not 10 times, a bunch of times. So Jabika's spending $180,000 to get Invader off for murder is not far-fetched to me at all. I mean, no way. It just, I believe it to a T. And he's the one that told me. So, I believe him. I believe they spent it.
God damn. Call a high spot here, Eric.
One tackle, drop down, and get it again, brother. But, hey, Steve, I do want to thank you tremendously for letting me be on your podcast. I really appreciate it. And I want to send a shout-out to all the fans that supported me over the years. I'll probably never, ever be on something like this again to talk to as many people as I'm talking to right now. And I just want all the fans to know, man, I love you. I really appreciated you. I really did from the bottom of my heart, because I know I could not have did near what I did without you guys. And I'd also would like to give you an email address. I've set up an email account, Steve.
Good.
To where, maybe some people that's wondering, like, hey, I wish I'd get in touch with him and we could reminisce or this or that. I've got one, and it's real simple. It's Eric Embry, ERICEMBRY, at BBTV betel.com. A B, a T-E-L.com. And that's a personal email that comes right to me, not people that's going to try to sell you something, this or that. It comes right to me. And would love to hear from anybody that wants to reminisce.
Damn, Eric, it's been a hell of a damn time talking to you, round two.
I knew it was going to, once we got into Puerto Rico, I knew it was going to get rough. Apologize for some of the language, but they pissed me off, and, I'm too old to be pissed off now.
Well, goddamn. I don't know
maybe we can.
You talk about a hot finish.
You got to open with a bang and close with a bang, brother.
Well, I can't get any hotter than this.
That's the key to success.
Shoot, it was July 17th, 1988 in Puerto Rico was when Bruiser Brody got killed. So, like I said, it was the late 80s. I can remember hearing about it right before I got into business. We talked about the serious stuff and crazy stuff tonight, and color and all kinds of interesting stuff. We'll lighten it up next time we talk, and we'll call some high spots, and we'll get the baby faces over.
That'll be fun because, I do have some good stories, have seen and done some amazing things, and not afraid to tell on a few others that did some amazing things that might make you laugh.
I'm up for a laugh, man, Eric. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Steve. You have a good one, brother.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue so I'm going to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. I appreciate you hitting the download button and listening to myself and Eric Embry shooting the breeze and talking about professional wrestling. Thank you, Eric, for your time. It's always a pleasure talking to you and always fun to listen to your stories. God damn, that guy's been around the horn. He's got some great stories. Hey, man. I'm going to give you guys something to watch right now before I go any further. Y'all know I like to get on YouTube and give you something to watch. Well, the other night, I've been watching a lot of shit on YouTube, and I've been watching this one particular video. And I watch it about 3 or 4 or 5 times in a row. And it's a remake of a song. And, God damn it, the name of the band, if you get on YouTube, type in 5 Finger Death Punch. Bad Company. I guess they did a tour over in Afghanistan about 2010, just by looking at some of the numbers of the video that they made. But, man, it's their version of, they did their copy of Bad Company. And, goddamn, 5 Finger Death Punch. Crank that shit up. It's got a real good tone to it. Guitars sound badass. Singer's badass. The footage is badass. I just dig the video, man. It lights my ass up. So check out 5 Finger Death Punch. Bad Company. On YouTube. Tell me what you think about it. Hey, man, if you got a question for me to answer on the show, you got a topic you want me to cover, send it to questions@steveaustonshow.com. I'm back in Los Angeles. I'm hitting the streets. I'm going to go hit some brewers. I'm going to go talk to Noble Ale Works coming up in a couple of days. I'm going to go down there and drink beer. Might talk a little bit of pro wrestling with them. I know they're big wrestling fans down there. I'm a big beer fan. Rob from El Segundo Brewing Company might be joining me on my trek down there. So, obviously, I'm going to hire a car, a taxi, an Uber, or a designated driver. I ain't driving. So we're going down there to Noble Ale Works to talk craft beer conversation coming up for you on Tuesday. Hey, man, couple of plugs. ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin has a bunch of my new shirts. All the ones I wore to film the new season of Broken Skull Challenge. And speaking of the most badass show on TV right now, we got another new episode airing this Sunday night at 9 Central on CMT. These are the last 2 episodes of the Broken Skull Challenge. These are the 2 most epic episodes that we've ever shot. Do not miss them on the 22nd and on the 29th. Set your DVR. Hey, IPAs, talking about beer drinking, I got a good one for you. Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company, 140 Main Street. Go down and get you a glass right out of the tap. You can also get it at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you live in California. If you don't, check out InsideTheCellar.com and see if they ship it to your state. I appreciate y'all supporting the sponsors of the Steve Austin podcast because they're the ones that let me do this for you free twice a week. So big thanks to DDP Yoga. Go to ddpyoga.com/Austin to get 25% off all DDPY DVDs and related merch. To Helix. Go to helixsleep.com/podcast to get $50 off your first order. And, of course, to Amazon, who have been supporting this podcast since day one. Amazon is the best place to get the Cold Steel Broken Skull knife. $75 for the most badass pocket knife on the planet. And if you order the Broken Skull Cold Steel knife through my Amazon links, Amazon will kick back a couple of bucks to the podcast. It doesn't cost you nothing extra. There's no hidden fees or charges. You buy whatever you plan on buying and help out the podcast in the process. You can find my Amazon links by going to PodcastOne.com, clicking on the Killer Deals button on the top right corner of the page, and then hitting the Steve Austin Show button. Amazon links for USA, UK, and Canada can be found there. So again, go to PodcastOne.com, click the Killer Deals button in the top right corner, and click on the Steve Austin Show. Bookmark a sumbitch so you can find it easier. Shit. Hey, keep listening. 60-second AP News headlines are coming up next. Until then, my name is Steve Austin, and I will catch your ass down the road.
Download new episodes of Steve Austin Unleashed every Thursday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
The best in paranormal talk radio goes beyond the darkness, challenging everything you think you know about the paranormal. Check out new episodes of Beyond the Darkness every Monday on the Jericho Network, on the Podcast One app, or subscribe at iTunes or PodcastOne.com.